Story number 1. Drive-through at 2:13 a.m. Working the night shift at Burger King wasn't something I ever planned on doing. It just kind of happened. I'd been let go from my last job and needed something to keep me afloat. Bills don't wait, and neither does rent. So when this 24-hour location down the highway said they needed overnight staff, I signed up. It wasn't so bad at first. Just me, a cook named Luis, and an old radio we weren't technically supposed to use. Most nights were dead quiet after midnight. A few late-night stoners, maybe a cab driver, sometimes a trucker, if they were desperate. But mostly, we'd stand around sipping flat soda, wiping down clean counters, and watching the clock crawl past 2 a.m. until it started. It was a Wednesday. I only remember because Wednesdays were inventory nights, which meant Luis would disappear into the freezer and I'd be alone at the counter at 2:13 a.m. I know the time exactly because I checked the register. I heard the ding of the drive-through sensor. That little ding that signals a car has pulled up to the order speaker. I blinked, surprised. We hadn't had a customer for nearly 2 hours. I leaned over and pressed the headset. "Welcome to Burger King. How can I help you?" Silence. I waited. Sometimes people fumble with their wallets or talk to someone next to them before ordering. I gave it a few seconds. Still, nothing. "Hello?" I tried again, softer this time. "Can you hear me?" The speaker crackled faintly. Then, in a low, calm voice, a woman said, "Whopper, no pickles, medium fries, Coke, no please, no emotion, just flat." I read the order back and she confirmed with a short, "Yes." I told her the total and waited for the car to roll forward to the window. Only, it didn't. The camera feed showed the car, an older black sedan, still sitting at the speaker. I waited another minute, then leaned out the side window to look. I could just barely see the red glow of taillights. The car was still there. "Ma'am, you can pull forward," I said into the headset. No response. I waited, then sighed and called out to Luis. He didn't answer, probably still in the back. So I left the window and walked outside. It was cold, quiet, the kind of silence you only hear after midnight, where the air feels heavier, somehow. I rounded the corner. The drive-through lane was empty. No car, no sound, no taillights, just the speaker box and the still night air. I stood there for a second, heart thudding, trying to understand what I was seeing or not seeing. The sensor had dinged. I'd heard a voice, an order, but the lane was empty. I walked back inside. Luis had come out of the freezer and gave me a look. "You okay?" I nodded, even though I wasn't sure I was. "Thought someone was at the drive-through," I muttered. He didn't ask more, just shrugged and went back to cleaning the fryer. That might have been the end of it. A glitch, a mistake. Maybe I'd imagined it, I told myself. Long shifts can mess with your head. But then it happened again. Friday night. Same shift, same time. 2:13 a.m. Ding. I froze. It was the same sound, the same pause. I pressed the headset, trying to keep my voice steady. "Welcome to Burger King. How can I help you?" "Whopper, no pickles, medium fries, Coke," same voice, calm, emotionless, no please, no pause. I felt a chill run down my back. "All right," I said slowly. "Pull up to the window." I stared at the monitor. The car, same model, same dark sedan, moved forward this time. I could see the outline of the driver, a woman, pale hands on the wheel, head slightly tilted like she was listening to something. She stopped at the window. I stepped closer, heart pounding. But when I looked out, there was nothing. No car, no driver, just the sound of the road in the distance and the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights overhead. I backed away, slowly. My throat felt tight. "Luis," I called, voice hoarse. He came out annoyed. "What?" "There was a car here," I said. It was right here." He glanced out the window, then at me. I saw something shift in his face. Not fear exactly, but something close. He didn't say anything, just gave me a quiet look and turned back to the fryer. After that, I started keeping a little notebook. I'd write down the dates, the times, the orders, always the same. Whopper, no pickles, medium fries, Coke, always at 2:13 a.m. Sometimes I'd hear the voice, sometimes I wouldn't, but the sensor would ding, and the monitor would show that car. Once I saw her face. It was a Tuesday, raining, the kind of rain that makes the world feel heavy and slow. She pulled up to the window, and she was looking right at me. Her face was pale, eyes wide but blank, hair wet and clinging to her skin. Her lips moved like she was speaking, but I heard nothing. I blinked, and she was gone. I didn't tell anyone for a while. Who would believe me? Then one night, a new guy named Travis was covering Luis's shift. Young kid, barely 18. At 2:13 a.m., the sensor dinged. Travis perked up. "Hey, finally, someone's here." I opened my mouth to warn him, but stopped. I watched him press the headset. "Welcome to Burger King. How can I—" He paused, his brow furrowed. Whopper, no pickles. Medium fries, Coke," he repeated slowly. His voice was shaking now. He turned to me. "Dude," she said my name. I stood there, heart frozen in my chest. She said, "Hello, Travis," then gave the order. How did she know my name? I didn't answer. We both stared at the monitor. The sedan pulled up, slower this time, like it was drifting more than driving. Travis moved toward the window. "Don't," I said. He stopped, looked at me. "She's not there," I said quietly. "She's never there." He frowned, opened the window anyway. Rain blew in, cold air. Nothing else. He shut it, backed away. Neither of us spoke for the rest of the night. After that, he quit, just stopped showing up. Luis didn't act surprised when I told him. "Some things don't want to be figured out," he said one night, wiping his hands on a towel. "Best to leave them alone." I started dreading the shifts, watching the clock tick closer to 2:13. I stopped answering the drive-thru. Just let the sensor ding. Watched the car appear, watched it fade. But then something changed. Last week I came in early for a shift change. The day manager pulled me aside. "Weird thing happened last night," she said. "Our system shows an order at 2:13 a.m., but no sale was made. Drive-through recorded audio. She played it for me. It was her voice, not the woman's. Heron, except she never worked nights. She swore she hadn't been there. I left early that night. I told them I was feeling sick, but I didn't sleep. I sat in my car outside the store, watched the lot, watched the lights. At 2:13 a.m., the drive-through speaker buzzed on. Static. Then that voice. Software. Calm. Whopper. No pickles. Medium fries. Coke. I didn't speak. Didn't move. Then came something new. The voice paused, then said, "You shouldn't be here." I don't work there anymore. I didn't quit officially. Just stopped showing up, like Travis. Sometimes I drive past late at night, just to see. The store lights are still on. The lot is empty. And every time, right around 2:13 a.m., the drive-through speaker comes alive. But I don't stop. I don't even slow down. Because last night, when I drove by, the order printed out on my old receipt roll. It was waiting on my doorstep when I got home. Wet, crumpled, same order, different message beneath. We remember you. Story number 2. The burned order ticket. It's funny how some jobs leave a smell on you. You walk out thinking you're done, but the scent stays. Grease, salt, that weird chemical cleaner smell that clings to your clothes no matter how many times you wash them. I worked at Burger King for a little over a year. Night shift mostly. I liked it quiet. No customers breathing down your neck, no kids screaming over ketchup packets, just the soft buzz of the lights, the hum of the fryer, and the occasional late night weirdo rolling through the drive-thru. I was the one who prepped the kitchen after close, restocking, wiping everything down, shutting machines off. The place had its rhythms, and after a while I knew them like clockwork, which is why it stood out that night. I was leaning against the prep table, sipping a flat soda and staring at the order screen. It was almost 3 a.m. Luis, the cook, had gone out back for a smoke. We were done for the night. No more orders. Everything cleaned. Then the printer chirped. Just one little chirp. That wasn't unusual in itself. Sometimes the system lagged and printed old tickets. But when I glanced at the slip that had rolled out, I felt off. It wasn't the items that bothered me, just a standard order. Whopper, large fries, milkshake. What caught my eye were the edges. Burned, not just crumpled or wrinkled. Charred, like someone had taken a lighter to the sides and let the flame crawl in just long enough to blacken the corners. I stared at it for a long time. The ink was smudged in places, but still legible. No timestamp, no order number, no drive-through indicator, nothing that showed where it came from. I held it up to Luis when he came back in. He frowned, then looked at the printer. "Did you do this?" I asked. He shook his head. "Looks old, but it just printed." He didn't answer. Just tossed his gloves in the trash and went to the sink. We threw the ticket out. Went home. Didn't talk about it. But the next night, it happened again. Same time, same ticket, same burned edges. I checked the drive-through. No one. I checked the system log. Nothing recorded. Luis didn't say anything this time. Just watched me as I folded the slip and slid it into my pocket. After that, it became routine. Every other night or so, the printer would spit out a single order. Always the same. Whopper, large fries, milkshake, always burned, no sound before it, no alert on the screen, just tsk, and the slip curling out slowly like a tongue from some machine that knew more than it should. I stopped throwing them away. I kept them in a drawer at home. I don't know why. Maybe I thought if I gathered enough of them, I'd figure it out, piece together something that made sense. One night, about a month into this weird routine, Luis broke the silence. "You ever hear about the fire?" he asked, wiping down the fryer hood. I looked up. "What fire?" He shrugged. Before you started, some guy tried to rob the place, threw a bottle at the fryer. It caught. Back corner of the kitchen went up. I didn't say anything, just listened. Didn't make the news," he added. "Owner kept it quiet. Insurance covered it." "Anyone get hurt?" Luis paused. Manager got stuck in the stockroom. They say he locked himself in, thought it was safer. But the heat got in through the vents. My stomach turned. Luis didn't look at me when he said it. He just kept wiping. Later that night, after he left, I went to the back stockroom. It was quiet. The light in there flickered a bit. Probably a bad bulb. I'd never paid much attention to it before. The room smelled different than the rest of the place. Stale. Like cardboard and melted plastic. There were dark stains along the base of the walls, like something had dripped and never been cleaned properly. I stood there for a while, then left. Didn't take anything. Didn't touch anything. But the next night, the ticket was different. Same order, same burn marks. But this time, there was something scrawled on the bottom in faint black ink. Locked in. I didn't show it to Luis. I just nodded through the shift, went home, and added the ticket to the drawer. The next few nights, the messages kept coming. Hot, can't breathe, still here. They weren't printed. They were written, like someone took a pen and scribbled just before the paper curled out of the machine. I thought about quitting, but I didn't. Not sure why. Part of me was scared that if I left, whatever it was might follow. One night I stayed late after Luis left. I turned off the lights, sat at the prep table, and waited. The clock ticked past 2:59 a.m. The printer didn't chirp. It screamed, a high, shrill sound like the motor was choking. The paper rolled out slow, jerky, dragging along the feed like something was resisting. The slip that came out was still warm. This time the entire bottom half was burned. But above the burn mark, in the clearest handwriting I'd seen so far, were 4 words. "Why didn't you help?" My hands shook. I hadn't been there during the fire. I didn't know the manager. I wasn't even working at Burger King yet. But it felt personal, like I'd ignored something for too long. I started digging, asked around. One of the older employees, Jeanette, remembered the guy's name. Mark, late 30s, quiet, liked to double-check the inventory sheets, said he always ate the same thing after every shift. Whopper, large fries, milkshake. I stopped asking after that. Something changed in the air after that night. The store felt colder, like a draft was always coming from the back, no matter how many times we checked the door. Luis started closing early without telling corporate. Said the fryer was acting weird. Said it kept overheating. We both knew it wasn't that. Then, one shift, I came in, and the printer was gone. Luis tossed it. Said he was done with whatever the hell that thing was. I checked the trash. Nothing there. I asked if he kept the last ticket. He shook his head. Didn't need to. I remember what it said. He didn't tell me what it said. Didn't need to. A week later, I quit. No big scene. Just left my uniform in the locker and walked out the back. I don't know if they ever replaced the printer, or if someone else started getting the tickets. But sometimes, late at night, I'll wake up and swear I smell it. Burned paper, grease, faint vanilla. And once, just once, I found something slipped under my front door. Not a letter, not a threat, just a receipt. Faded, smudged, the edges burned. The order was the same, but at the bottom, someone had written, "I waited." Story number 3. The Screamer. In the bathroom. I started working at Burger King when I was 19. It wasn't my dream job or anything. It was just something to pay my share of rent. While I figured things out, it was an older location, tucked between a gas station and a closed-down shoe store. Nothing fancy. The neon sign buzzed, the soda machine leaked constantly, and the fryer made this weird clicking noise whenever it was left running too long. Still, it was quiet most nights, especially during my shifts. I usually worked the evening to close slot, 4 p.m. to midnight. The crowd slowed down by 9, and by 11, it was just the occasional delivery driver grabbing a late bite. That left a lot of time to clean, wipe tables, mop the back, refill sauces. Nothing exciting. Just quiet, repetitive tasks. I didn't mind it. But the women's bathroom always creeped me out a little. At first, I chalked it up to the bad lighting. The flickering, fluorescent bulb over the sink. The way the tile always seemed wet, even when you just mopped. The mirror was old and had this patch in the corner where the silver had peeled away, leaving a dark, rust-like smudge. I didn't go in there unless I had to, but I started noticing something strange after my second week. It was always during closing. I'd be wiping down the counter or checking the trash, and I'd hear it. Faint, but clear. Crying. From the bathroom. Soft, drawn-out sobs. Not loud. Just steady. Almost like someone trying hard to keep quiet, but still falling apart. The first time I heard it, I thought maybe a customer had locked themselves in. Someone upset, or having a bad night. I walked to the door and knocked lightly. "Hey, everything okay in there?" The crying stopped. I waited. No answer. I knocked again. Silence. I pushed the door open slowly. The lights were dim, one bulb flickering softly. The stall doors were closed. "Hello?" I called. No response. I walked in, checking each stall. Empty. All of them. I remember standing there for a second, just listening. The silence felt heavy, like the air had thickened somehow. I left without saying anything, didn't tell my manager, didn't bring it up, felt silly, honestly. Probably just pipes, or a weird echo from outside, but it happened again. And again. Same time. Same soft crying. Always from the bathroom. Sometimes I'd hear a stall door creak. Other times just the steady sobbing like someone was stuck in a loop of sadness they couldn't shake. One night I asked Steph, a coworker who did the morning shifts, if she'd ever noticed anything weird about the women's bathroom. She paused for a second before answering. "Like what?" I shrugged. "I don't know. Just weird noises." She looked at me for a long moment, then said, "It's probably just the air vent. That thing makes the strangest sounds when the heat kicks in." I nodded like that made sense. But I knew what I'd heard, and it wasn't the vent. Things got worse after that. The crying turned into something sharper. Not louder, just different. More desperate. Like someone on the edge of something. They couldn't say out loud. And then, one night, it changed. I just finished mopping the back hallway when I heard the sobbing again. I set the mop aside, heart already sinking. This time, though, there was something else. A whisper. Just one word. "Please." I froze. It was so faint I almost thought I imagined it. But then it came again. "Please." Drawn out, like a breath clinging to the word. I walked to the bathroom door and placed my hand on it. My fingers felt cold, damp. I hadn't noticed the air conditioner running. I opened the door slowly. The lights were dim again. The flickering had gotten worse, almost rhythmic. And then I heard it. Not crying, not whispering, screaming. It came from the far stall, high-pitched and raw, like someone being pulled apart. I didn't move, didn't run. I just stood there staring at the stall door, feeling my heart thud against my ribs. The scream cut off like someone hit a switch. Silence. Then, footsteps. Light. Barefoot. They moved stall to stall. Slow and deliberate. As if checking. I backed out, my hand still on the door. And then the lights blinked once, hard. When they came back on fully, I was already outside the bathroom. I didn't go back in that night. Didn't clean. didn't mop, just waited until my shift ended and left. After that, I avoided that hallway altogether unless I had to do trash runs. And even then, I kept my AirPods in, music loud, head down. But it didn't help, because the sounds started bleeding into other parts of the store. Late one night, while I was refilling cups, I heard the scream again. Not from the bathroom, from the speaker by the soda machine. Just for a second. Then static. Then silence. I turned off the machine, stood there, waiting. Nothing. I went home that night and didn't sleep. Steph quit the next week. Said she got a job at a daycare. Smiled like everything was normal. But when I hugged her goodbye, she whispered in my ear, "Don't let her follow you home." I don't know what she meant. I think about that a lot now. I work mornings, new location, cleaner, brighter. But I still check the bathrooms before I leave. Every time, even though I know it doesn't matter. Because last night when I was brushing my teeth, I heard it. Faint, behind the bathroom mirror. That soft, hopeless whisper. Please. And the sound of someone crying just below the surface. Just. Story number 4. The coworker with no reflection. I used to think working the night shift would be easy money. Quiet hours, fewer customers, no manager breathing down your neck. Just keep the place clean, take a few late night orders, and get through till morning. For a while, that's exactly what it was. I worked the overnight shift at a Burger King off the highway. It wasn't the nicest location, but it had its charm. A couple of old booths with ripped cushions, a soda fountain that sputtered if you hit the wrong button, and lights that hummed just loud enough to remind you were still awake. It was mostly just me and Luis, the cook. We got along fine. Luis liked to talk about old movies, and I liked to listen. We had a rhythm. Then one night, our manager told us we were getting a third person on nights, said corporate wanted more coverage, whatever that meant. She said his name was Devin, transferred from another store. Quiet guy. Hard worker. He showed up the next night. Early, actually. I was restocking straws when I saw him standing just outside the glass door. Just waiting. Not knocking. Not checking his phone. Just standing still. I walked over and opened up. "You must be Devin," I said. He nodded once, stepped inside without a word. He was tall, pale, hair cut short and neat, eyes dark, maybe brown. Hard to tell in that lighting. He didn't smile, but he wasn't rude either. Just quiet. Luis shook his hand and went back to prepping the fryer. Devin didn't ask many questions. Didn't need help figuring out where things were. He moved like someone who'd done this 100 times. Almost too smoothly. I remember thinking it was strange, but not in a bad way. Just efficient. Efficient and quiet. A few nights passed like that. Then one night, I noticed something odd. I was in the walk-in freezer grabbing more patties. The metal door has this small rectangular window near the top. Most people ignore it. But I always catch my reflection when I open it. Just a quick glimpse of my face in the stainless steel. That night, I saw myself. And behind me, Devin. He was standing by the shelves, maybe 10 feet away, only he wasn't in the reflection. I turned around fast. He was still there, standing just like I saw, arms at his sides, staring at the shelves like he was looking for something. I looked back at the door's window. Just me, no Devin. I blinked a few times, wiped the window with my sleeve, and looked again. Still just me. He walked past me to grab a box of fries, gave me a slight nod, and left the freezer. I didn't say anything. I figured maybe the light was weird, or maybe I just missed it. Happens, right? But it didn't sit right. The next night I tested it. We were cleaning the counter area, and I angled the small mirror on the soda machine to catch our reflections while we worked. I saw myself wiping down the surface, but not him. He was right next to me, close enough to hear him breathing. Still, no reflection. I turned to look at him. He didn't seem to notice anything, just kept wiping in slow, steady circles. I didn't say a word, not then. But something in me started watching him more closely after that. He never drank anything, never took breaks. Sometimes he stood too still, like he was listening to something only he could hear. And once, this still gets to me, I came out of the bathroom around 2 a.m., and I saw him standing in the dining area, just standing in the dark, facing the wall, not doing anything, not moving. I walked up slowly and said, "Devin?" He turned around a second later, calm as ever. "Need help with something?" he asked, voice low. "No," I said, "just, you okay?" He blinked once. "Yes," and that was it. I asked Luis one night if Devin ever said anything about where he came from or which store he worked at before. Luis just shrugged. Said he transferred from the 72nd Street location. I paused. "There is no 72nd Street location?" Luis frowned. "Yeah, there is. Or there used to be." "Used to be?" He nodded. "Burned down. A few years ago, I think. Electrical fire or something." I felt something cold move across my chest. The next night, I checked the employee system. Pulled up his name. Nothing. No last name. No ID. No record of his clock-ins. But I'd seen him punch in. Every night. I asked the manager about it. Casually. She looked confused. "Devin?" "Yeah," I said. "The night guy, tall, quiet." She stared at me like I'd lost it. I didn't schedule a Devin. I laughed, thinking she was messing with me, but she didn't laugh back. "There's just you and Luis." I left early that night. Didn't sleep. The next evening I showed up to work, heart pounding, palms damp. I didn't want to see him again, but I had to know. He was already there, frying station, calm, silent. I didn't say anything. I just watched. Then, around 2:30 m, Luis stepped outside for a smoke. I was alone with Devin. He turned to me. "You've been watching," he said. It wasn't a question. I swallowed. "Yeah," I said. Silence. He stepped closer, slow and steady. "Most people don't notice," he said. My throat felt tight. I couldn't move. He smiled, just slightly. Then he looked past me toward the freezer door. "Some things stay behind," he said. I turned to look. The window on the freezer door was fogged, but I could still see my reflection, just mine. When I turned back around, he was gone. Not walked away. Gone. The fryer was still sizzling. The back door was still locked. I searched the whole place. Nothing. I didn't tell Luis. Didn't tell anyone. The next morning, I went back into the system. His name was there. Just for a second. Then it disappeared again. I still work night shifts sometimes, but I keep my head down now. I don't look too closely at reflections. And when I hear footsteps behind me, I don't always turn around. Some things are better left unseen. Story number 5. The customer who knew too much. I've worked the front counter at Burger King for about a year now. It's not bad. The pay is what you'd expect, but the hours are decent, and the late shifts are usually quiet. I actually like the slow ones. Less talking, more time to just think. It's the kind of job where things start to feel the same, day in and day out. Same beeps from the fryer, same soft hum from the soda machine, same routine chatter from customers ordering the usual. You get to know the regulars, the night security guy who always gets 2 Whoppers and a black coffee, the college kids who come in half drunk after a party, the older woman who only eats fries 5 at a time, never speaks. You notice patterns. So when someone new walks in, especially this late, they stand out. It was a Tuesday. I remember because it was my 3rd shift in a row, and I was already counting down to Friday. We were dead after 10:30, so I'd started cleaning the ketchup pump behind the counter. The place smelled like old oil and bleach. I was half listening to a true crime podcast on my phone when I heard the door chime. It wasn't rushed or aggressive like most customers. Soft, careful ding. I looked up. A woman had walked in, mid-40s, maybe older. Thin, with short, straight black hair tucked behind her ears. She was wearing a pale gray coat, clean but old-looking. Her shoes were silent on the tile like she was gliding. She didn't go straight to the counter. She stood near the menu board for a while, looking up. I didn't say anything at first. She wasn't in the way. But after a full minute of silence, I cleared my throat. "Evening, ready to order?" She walked up slowly, then said, "I'll have the BK broiler. No tomato." I blinked. "That's been off the menu for years." She smiled just slightly. "I know." There was something about her voice, low even, like someone reading from a page. I hesitated. "Sorry, we don't have that anymore." She didn't go to the soda machine, just held the cup in both hands and looked around the restaurant slowly. Then she said, "You're Ethan." I froze. I hadn't told her my name. There was no name tag. I'd lost mine weeks ago and never got a replacement. I gave a small, awkward laugh. Yeah." She nodded. "You're 23. You moved here from Dayton. Your dad's name is Marcus." I didn't speak. My hands felt suddenly cold, even though the heater near the counter had been running all night. "Do I know you?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Then, softly, she said, "Not yet." I stared at her. Her expression didn't change. No smile, no blink, just calm. After a moment, she turned and walked to the far booth by the window. She sat down and faced the door, not eating, not drinking, just sitting with that cup in her hands. I tried to shake it off. Maybe she looked me up online somehow. Maybe it was a weird prank. But there was something else, something I didn't want to admit yet. She looked familiar. Not in a specific way. More like a shadow in the corner of your eye that you've seen before but never turned to face. I pretended to keep cleaning, but I kept glancing at her. She didn't look at her phone, didn't move, just stared straight ahead. Calm. Still. After 10 minutes, she stood and walked back up to the counter. She placed the empty cup gently on the tray return, and then quietly said, "Don't drive home tonight." That's all. I opened my mouth to respond, but she was already walking out the door. The chime sounded soft again, and she was gone. I didn't go home that night. I don't know why I listened to her, but I texted Luis, asked if I could crash on his couch. He said sure. No questions asked. I drove over and spent the night watching late-night TV while Luis snored in the next room. The next morning, I checked the news. There'd been a crash. Black sedan, drunk driver, same route I usually took home. Same time I would have been on that road. I told myself it was coincidence, that she didn't know anything, that it was just a weird moment. But I couldn't stop thinking about her face, the calmness, like she was waiting for something or someone. A week passed. Nothing happened. Then one night, just after 11, she came in again. Same coat, same soft steps, same cup of water. She sat at the same booth. Didn't speak to me this time. Didn't look around. Just watched the door. I thought about going up to her, asking who she was, how she knew my name. But I didn't. I was afraid of what she'd say. She came in 3 more times that month. Never ordered food. Always sat in the same place. Sometimes she'd stay an hour. Sometimes only 10 minutes. She never talked to anyone else. Just once. To me. It was the last time I saw her. She walked up to the counter, placed her cup down gently, like always, then handed me a small piece of receipt paper. "I won't be coming back," she said softly, "but you'll see." She turned and walked out. I looked down at the paper. There was a date. 4 days from now. And a time. 9:42 p.m. That was it. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't show Luis. I folded it and kept it in my wallet. When the night came, I got to work early. My hands were shaking the whole shift. At 9:42 exactly, the door chimed. But it wasn't her. It was 2 cops. They asked for me by name. My throat went dry. One of them handed me a folded slip of paper. Said they were sorry. It was a note. For my dad. He'd passed away. Stroke. Quick. Peaceful. They found the note in his coat pocket with my name on it. He'd written it earlier that day. Said he was proud of me. Said he hoped I was safe. I still don't know how she knew. Or what she was. She never came back. But sometimes, when the restaurant is quiet, I glance at that corner booth. And for just a second, I swear I see her sitting there, watching the door, still waiting. Story number 6, the receipt that printed tomorrow's date. Most nights at the Burger King where I work tend to blur together. It's the kind of job that settles into your bones. The sounds, the smells, the rhythm of it. The beep of the fryer, the low hum of the fridge. The soft hiss of the soda machine when no one's using it. After a while, you stop hearing it. It becomes part of the background. I work the register. Night shift. Usually starts slow around 6 p.m., gets a little busy between 8 and 9, and then it's dead till close. Just me, the cook, and the buzz of the fluorescent lights. I don't mind the quiet. In fact, I prefer it. No customers, no noise, just peace. Sometimes I'll lean against the counter, drink a lukewarm Sprite, and let my thoughts drift. It was one of those quiet nights when it happened. Just before closing, a man came in, maybe 10:45. We close at 11. He didn't look out of place. Black hoodie, jeans, quiet, footsteps. His face was forgettable, honestly. Not rude, not friendly, just there. He walked up to the counter and ordered a small coffee. Nothing else. I rang it up, handed him the cup, and printed the receipt like always. And that's when I noticed it. The date at the top of the receipt. Not today's date, tomorrow's. I blinked, looked again. Not just the date, the time too. 10 minutes ahead, 10:55 p.m. I glanced at the wall clock. It was 10:45, exactly. I tore the receipt off the machine and checked the system settings. Sometimes the register resets weird after a power outage or time change, but everything looked normal. I looked back at the man. He was already at the soda station pouring cream into his coffee. I thought about saying something, but I didn't. I tossed the receipt in the trash and went back to wiping down the counter. 10 minutes later, he was gone. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't take a lid. Just walked out coffee in hand, quiet as he came. I didn't think much of it after that. Weird tech glitch, maybe. The next night, he came back. Same time, same order, small coffee, same exact way he said it too. Not a single word different. I hit the register. Another receipt printed. Tomorrow's date. And again, the time on the receipt was 10 minutes ahead. I didn't say anything. But this time, I kept the slip, folded it, and put it in my back pocket. He took his coffee and left, like before. No eye contact. No words. The paper stayed warm in my pocket longer than it should have. The third night, he didn't show up, but the receipt did. I was behind the counter, no one else in the lobby, and the printer started whirring on its own. Just one slip. I walked over slowly. Same thing. Tomorrow's date. 10 minutes into the future. This time, the total was $0.00. And under it, where the thank you message usually was, it read, "We'll be in touch." I stood there for a long time. I didn't hear the fryer. I didn't hear the fridge. Everything felt muted, like sound had folded in on itself. I didn't sleep much that night. The next day, I checked the system logs. There was no transaction recorded at that time. No customer name, no product ID, nothing. I even asked our manager if she'd updated the POS software recently. She just looked confused. We haven't touched that machine in months. I stopped asking after that, but I kept the receipts. There were more over the next week. Not every night, not always the same total, but always tomorrow's date, and always 10 minutes into the future. One time, the receipt printed before anyone walked in. 9 minutes later, a woman came through the door, ordered exactly what the slip said. Spicy chicken junior, no mayo, small fries, water. I hadn't seen her before. She didn't look surprised when I handed her the food without asking. Just nodded and left. That's when I realized the receipts weren't errors. They were warnings or predictions. I wasn't sure which, but it wasn't random. One night, the slip printed just before close. It had my name on it. Order, Ethan, large Coke, drive safe. I hadn't told the system my name. It doesn't register that. It never has. I don't drink Coke, and I wasn't planning on driving anywhere. But when I got to my car after close, there was a bottle of Coke sitting on the driver's seat. The doors had been locked. I stood there staring at it for a long time. I didn't touch it. Just went back inside and waited till sunrise. That was a month ago. I still work here. I don't really know why. I've stopped checking the receipts during my shift. I let them print one by one and stack them in a drawer under the counter. Some nights there are none. Some nights there are 5. The cook doesn't ask questions anymore. We don't talk about it. Last night, something changed. The receipt didn't have a time, just the word, tonight. And below it, the address of my apartment. I didn't go home. I drove around for hours until the sky started turning blue. When I finally did go back, my door was locked. A thing was missing. Except one thing. The drawer where I kept all the old receipts, empty. Not a single one left. Just a blank slip of paper on my desk, still warm. I flipped it over, no ink, but under the light, if I tilted it just right, I could see the faint indent of words. Now you're ready. That's all it said. I don't know who they are or what I'm supposed to be ready for. But the printer is quiet tonight, and I don't know if that's better or worse. If that story gave you chills, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more creepy tales just like this. Make sure to check out the videos appearing on your screen right now. You won't want to miss them. And hey, If you've ever had a strange or unexplained experience, share it in the comments below. I'm always watching